Hey, good evening, guys. It's KB5MIQ Big Boy. We're going to do a video tonight. Try to help you guys out a little bit. I've gotten into a new Facebook group, Ham Radio for Beginners. These guys are asking a lot of good questions, and they're getting some sad ham responses too. So we're gonna talk about setting up your first HF station. I've kind of touched on this in other videos, but I'm gonna try to hit it a little different idea with y'all tonight, give you some ideas. But first, I got a separate giveaway we're going to do. When we hit 1,500 subs, I'm going to give that talkie away that Broken Circuit Ranch YouTube, K1ENT is sponsored. But I got another sponsored giveaway. I've got another handbook. Dan Majors, MRG Labs, Ham Radio and Amp Repair. There's a slide here at the front of the video with contact info on it. His gift sent me this book to give away. It's a 2000 amateur radio handbook. I've been asked before, why do you give old books away? Well, all the info in that book is still valid, except the radios. Technology's changed a little bit, but the antenna principles, propagation, amateur radio operating practices, all's the same. That will help a new guy out as much as anything. So I'm going to try something different on this giveaway. I only want it open to techs. If you got a tech license and you want to take a chance at winning a handbook, shoot me an email. My email will be in the description of the video. It's on my QRZ page, and it's also on my, hey, Ham Radio Cat. It's also on the slide at the end of the video about the 10-meter hammerheads group. So, techs only, please. I will run it a week. We'll give it away next Saturday night. I'll get it in the mail to you. And thanks again to MRG Labs, Dan Majors, for sponsoring that. Guys, get a lot of remarks and questions about how do I set up my first station, what do I buy, and all this. And I've seen guys get on there and say, I got $2,000 to spend, I got $7,000 to spend, what do I buy? Well, if you get on there and tell somebody that, they're going to help you spend that much money. Now, I've always run a cheap station. Now, look behind me at this pew-pew safe. That's where a lot of my money's gone over the years. But ham radio, I haven't spent a lot on it compared to other hobbies. Now, I know guys, when they get in their hobbies, we think we got to have all the bells and whistles and fancy everything and all that. And if, like I said, if you look at my hunting stuff and fishing stuff over the years, I've spent a ton of money there. I kind of tried to figure up, since I got licensed in 91, I've been a ham 33 years. I don't believe I've spent much more than $3,000 total on the hobby the entire time I've been in it. And I got one log book full of contacts, starting on my second log book. I had a lot of fun with it. Now, does that mean you have to spend a lot of money or not? You don't have to spend that much. You can spend what you want to. But when you ask questions like, what's the best radio? They're going to get the answer. They're going to tell you the best radio to buy is whatever's sitting on their bench. I got all three of the big three on my bench right now. I got an old ICOM 701. I've got an older, not quite as old Kenwood 940S. And I've got my youngest, least oldest, is 17 years old, Yaesu 897D. I've used all three brands of radios. Some people are Kenwood guys, some people are ICOM guys, some people are Yaesu guys. Personally, I like all of them. I have my preferences on a more modern radio. From this personal standpoint, I'd probably stick with Yaesu, just for the fact the menus are easier for me to read. But that's just my personal preference. But what I want to try to help y'all with is where, when you get your ticket, you stay interested enough in this hobby to keep your ticket. If you watched one of my earlier videos from a month or so back where I talked about the losses in ham radio licenses, we lost almost 30,000 tech licenses. And Somebody tried to say, well, they all upgraded to general. No, they didn't. The numbers didn't back it up. Very few of them upgraded to general. Some of them could have went silent key, but I think a lot of them got into the hobby thinking they could buy a talkie and enjoy it. And I've always said, if you limit yourself to local repeater work, more than likely you're going to get bored with the hobby. Now, setting up an HF station or your home station, what do you need? What you need to do is look at what you expect to get out of ham radio. I want you to get on HF because it's fun. 10 meters right now is really fun. Say you're a new tech and you want to get on HF. You got to look at your budget. You got to look at your location and the capabilities you have to install some kind of an antenna. Preferably higher the better. Height is might, but a ground mounted vertical on 10 meters skip works good also. But that's a decision you have to make. Bear in mind, a 10 meter dipole is roughly 16 foot overall length for a half wave dipole, and they need to be at least a half wave off the ground, so that's only 16 feet. They need to be higher if you can get them. If you've got a high peak roof house, you got any kind of antenna restrictions, stretch a dipole in the attic. Feed the coax down through the wall. Now, when you pick an antenna, you got to pick coax. What are you going to do? Do you think your long-term goal is to go full-blown DX and get an amp? Then you may want to consider putting a better grade of coax in right off the bat. But I can tell you from personal experience, I'll argue it with anybody all day long. If you are running 100 foot or less length of coax from antenna to radio, you're only running 100 watts barefoot, and the only VHF, UHF you're doing is FM repeaters, RG8X will work fine from now on. That's all I've ever used. I've got one piece of 9913. I got some LMR 400 I got from Ken I hadn't used yet, but the majority of my career I've used nothing but RG8X. I don't run an amp. Got a wall full of cards and contacts that I've made. Just have to be a little more creative when you do that. Now, if you plan on going on up general, I hope you do, and you want to work the lower bands on voice 20 and 40 meters, become a serious contester or DXer, then yeah, I'm going to say you probably need to consider an amp down the road. Doesn't have to have it right off the bat. I've seen posts where people are trying to tell these new techs, don't buy a full HF radio when you get your tech license. All you can get on 10, just buy you a 10 meter mobile and use that. That's not very good advice. There's nothing wrong with a 10 meter mobile that's got sideband on it. 25 watt radio, I used to run one in my shack and then run one mobile. Work the world with it. But that's still not good advice for a new amp. If you're going to be a amateur radio operator and do the study and pass the test, you automatically should have enough integrity to operate within the limits of your band. I was a novice, then tech plus, whatever they call that, from 1991 to 2006. I made the majority of my contacts on HF, all of my contacts on HF during that time period on 10 meters, and made a wall full of cards from it. I never once considered operating out of band because I wasn't supposed to. And honestly, back then, it might have been easier to operate out of band because we didn't have the internet to check you. Now, you're on the internet. Every ham more likely has got the internet there at his house or on his phone. I know every time I work a station, before I work them, I've got them pulled up on QRZ. I know where they're at and what their license class is. So it'd be crazy to try to operate out of your license class on other bands in today's time. So you're not going to do that. But by going ahead and having you a full up HF rig, you're already ready once you upgrade to general. Does it have to be a new rig? No, doesn't have to be. Use some care, look through some checking, MTC, all his used gear, he'll tell you right on the, if it's got on the ID of the advertisement for the radio, whether it's got a 30-day warranty or not, and Richard will make it good. Or look at a 718 or an 891. Both of those are fairly inexpensive, under $700 for a brand new rig. You'll need a way to power it, power supply, or if you're gonna run on batteries, whatever, that's another expense. But that is kind of the minimum things you need to get on the air. But when you get on there and ask people what do I need to buy, they're going to tell you everything to buy that's in their shack. And they're going to tell you, I seen one guy, he got on there and said, I got $3,000 spent on a station. This one guy got on and said, well, that won't do nothing but pay for your grounding and lightning protection. All right? I'm not saying don't ground. I'm not saying don't do lightning protection. To me, that falls under shack enhancement. If you're running a simple shack and you're just trying to get on the air, disconnect your radio when you're not using it. I've done that all my life. I've never had a problem. And took a direct hit once. I lost an antenna, but I didn't lose a radio. So, just think it through. Do some reading. If you can find a good club to join, there are plenty of those guys there who will give you advice. The main thing in setting up an amateur radio station that I want you to remember, nobody knows your budget, your location, your skill level, or what you're wanting to get out of ham radio but you. So take your advice, make your decisions accordingly, but get on the air. That's the main thing that all we try to get you guys on is on the air on 10 meters. And look for us on 10 meters. There's always a slide at the end of my videos showing the 10 meter hammerhead group when we meet. We meet on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday nights, about 7:30 Central Standard Time. We're usually between 28,450 and 28,480. All right. Depending on how busy the band is, how well it's open. We love to have techs check in with us, and you will get a card from us if you check in with us as a tech. I got one I got to send out now to work the new tech the other night on 10 meters. Got to get him a card in the mail Monday. I already sent some out to other stations that worked us. And it's really cool for us to get to work these guys, and we may be their first or second or third contact. Plus, you're going to get 4 to 6 contacts off our group because we're going to let everybody in the group talk to you. That's why how we're trying to promote the hobby. We don't run an official net. You're not interrupting us. Please check in. We want you to. Guys, feel free to comment me a question, email me a question. I will do my best to get you an answer. The main thing, research what you want to do in this hobby and plan your station out accordingly. It doesn't hurt to start ham radio with a bare station of one radio and an antenna. I did it. I did it a long time. And after I got back active again in 06 when I bought this 897, that was the only radio on my bench besides a Kenwood 261. I had 3 antennas up. I had a G5RV up for HF. Then I had a 6 meter diamond 2 element Yagi and a diamond dual bander on top of it for VHF, UHF. And that's all I run. I've got more up now because I'm experimenting and doing things with the channel and stuff like that. But it don't hurt to have a small station to get yourself into the hobby. The big station can come later. Shack enhancements can come later, like the video I just did on the power strip. You know, it's just more money to spend, and you can ease into it without having a big outlay of money off the bat. Of course, if you got the money to do all that off the bat, that's fine too. Just get a plan, look at what you want to do, and above all, get on the air, enjoy the hobby, and don't let your ticket lapse. That's the main thing. Guys, I know I ramble a little bit talking to these sometimes. Remember, the tech giveaway starts tonight and will end next Saturday night. I'll mail somebody that handbook. I'll put a sticker in there and one of my shack koozies in there with it. We hit 1,500 sub giveaway. We got a talkie to give away. Y'all remember Main Trading Company in Paris, Texas? Richard's now the dealer for Expert Amps USA. That will be on the slide. I've modified that slide to show both brands, MTC and Expert Amps at the first video. There's some slides on here about upcoming Ham Fest. Belton's coming up, I think, in 2 weeks. Then Emory's right after that. The 4 states is May 11th, tailgate sale. And I got a couple more following that. Guys, thanks for everybody subscribe to the channel. We're at 1478, I believe. As soon as we hit 1500, we'll do another giveaway. On behalf of me and old Ham Radio Cap, this is KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.